So, you just started using LinkedIn Premium. Now what? Well, on your premium company page, you noticed around 7.5 times more page engagement and 5 times more page views. Well done. And now, new clients are messaging you. All because you're using LinkedIn Premium, which helps you get the business growth you want. Think big, small business. Think big. Start your free trial at linkedin.com/premium small business. That's linkedin.com/premium small business.
British Spy Stories Season 4 Double Agent Episode 30. The rain beats down on the carriageway as Agent Loxby powers on and takes the bike faster. The BMW on her tail is closing the gap yet again. The exit for Richmond town comes and goes, and Alice on the pillion is shouting something, but Loxby ignores her. Half a mile ahead is the London Orbital motorway, the M25. Loxby takes the turning without slowing. She negotiates the junction and swings around onto the motorway. She heads north towards Heathrow Airport. The BMW doesn't relent in its pursuit and swerves in amongst the traffic behind them as it gradually closes the gap between the two machines. As Loxby nears the next junction, there's a queue of stationary traffic ahead. She tries the same tactic that she used before, but this time the gap is too narrow between the vehicles and the curb to run through at speed. Her mind rolls through her options. There are roadworks 100 yards in front. Workers in high-vis jackets under enormous arc lamps are repairing the central safety barrier. She brakes and swerves her Kawasaki. Alice cries out in pain on the pillion. Loxby powers the bike towards the barrier repairs, and the workers scatter as she heads straight for them. She brakes hard and runs at speed between the two sets of barriers that separate the carriageways. There's no gap in the barriers that she can see, and she's forced to drive on. The BMW is so close that she can hear its engine roar above the sound of her own bike. Just as she is considering stopping and facing her pursuer, a missing stretcher barrier appears up ahead. She opens her throttle, powers through the gap, and the front wheel lifts off the ground. Then they slam back down onto the opposite carriageway. The bike spins around at the back, out of her control, and Alice's fingers on her waist push into her stomach. Loxby twists her wrist. The bike stops rotating and the back wheel roars. They accelerate away into the traffic going south. It takes 1 minute for the BMW bike to appear in her mirror again, travelling at breakneck speed. When it's 20 feet behind them, she watches the rider take one hand off the handlebars, reach down and raise a handgun. The first bullet hits Loxby's back light. She starts to swerve to make her a more difficult target. The second bullet hits Alice's arm. She's not shouting anymore. The fear and the pain have taken over. The bikes approach the junction they came in on. Loxby takes the slip road and turns back towards London. As she joins the new carriageway, she can see police cars behind her. One car, with blue flashing lights, is moving faster than the others. It narrows in on the BMW like a hawk and pulls up alongside it. The BMW bike suddenly skids to one side and rams the central barrier. There's a moment when nothing else happens, then a red and orange ball of flame billows up into the night air as the bike ignites. The car slows and stops in the centre of the road. The two following police vehicles push through the traffic and slow the queues behind them, then block the carriageway entirely. Loxby brings her bike to a halt, and the traffic around her continues off into the distance. "I'm sorry, Alice," she says, turning around on the seat to her friend. Alice's face is riven with fear and pain, and tears. "We'll call an ambulance." Loxby turns the bike and drives to the car in the road. that still has its blue flashing lights on, cutting up into the night air. Riverside is leaning on the bonnet, holding an umbrella, and watching the flames around the crashed bike. Loxby stops the Kawasaki. They help Alice get off and carry her across, to lay her down on the back seat of the Audi. The rain has thinned to a fine drizzle, and it washes over their faces as they stand opposite each other. "How did you know where I was?" she says to him. "You're mobile at first," he says. "The London cells are small enough so I could track you across the city. Then we patched through to the motorway cameras and could see what was happening." "Who was chasing us?" she says, turning her eyes to the fire. "A freelance killer," says Riverside. "Someone put a contract out on you. I'm guessing it's linked to the gang who were paying Webster." "Should I be scared?" she says. "No, Tech Branch have cancelled the assassination job on the dark web. Don't worry." An ambulance laces its way along the hard shoulder and pulls up next to them. "In the back of the car," calls Riverside to the medics, and they run over to attend to Alice. "You should get checked over too," he says. "I'll go to the hospital. What about my bike?" "The police can take it." Loxby starts to walk over to the medics, then stops and turns back to Riverside. "Thanks for saving my life, Rob." "You can do the same for me one day." "It's a deal," she says, then turns and walks away. "This is Engelberg," says Kate, as the Volvo XC90 comes off the highway and cuts down into the town. The streets are white with snow and the air is full of falling flakes, carried by a cold wind that gusts along the fronts of the houses. "Where to now?" says Hans. "London lost eyeballs on Laravel's vehicle a couple of hours ago," says Gabby. "The last location from the tracker was that hotel to the north of the town that we passed, but there was no sign of her there." "Amandine has a ski lodge up in the hills," says Hans. "Shall we go there? It's somewhere Luke would know about." "Can we eat first?" says Kate. They go to a hotel, order breakfast and talk about the options they have. At the end of the meal, Hans goes off to the bathroom, and the women continue their planning. After 10 minutes, Kate says, "Where's Gordon got to? We should get moving." After another 5 minutes, Gabby is getting concerned. "Let's go and see where he is," she says. They both get up and explore the corridors of the hotel in search of the bathrooms. They find them, and Kate goes straight into the gents without pausing. Less than 5 seconds later, she comes back out. "Nothing." "Is this the only one?" says Gabby, and Kate nods. Gabby pulls out her phone and dials Hans's number. "No answer," she says. "Back to the car. He may be there." Their pace gets faster as they hurry out into the car park. Their Volvo is there, but Hans is not. The sound of raised voices carries across from a group of people near the road. A man is largely haranguing a policewoman. Gabby and Kate run over. The man is describing some sort of attack that has just happened. "Our friend has gone missing," says Gabby to the pair. "Is he tall, muscular?" says the man. "Yes, and wearing a green army jacket." "I saw him being pushed into a car. I was just saying." "Which way did the car go?" "Up into the hills," says the man, pointing along the road that rises up at the edge of the town. Gabby and Kate turn back immediately and run to the Volvo. The policewoman calls after them, but they can't hear what she says. Gabby drives this time, and she pushes the SUV out onto the road, then up into the mountains. "See if you can get any information from London," she says to Kate, who then calls the MI6 control centre and runs through various ideas about how they might locate Hans. The women drive on, further up into the snow-laden highlands. London have nothing that will help them immediately, and they're both starting to get frustrated. "I've got something, Gab," says Kate, looking up from a map on her phone. "There's a hotel up here, and it advertises trips over the mountains for guests." "Right." Gabby's face looks confused. "They've got a gimbal Cabri." "A what?" "A 2-seater helicopter, and I've got a pilot's license," she says. "It'll let us see the whole area. What other option do we have?" Gabby pulls off the road opposite the hotel. She parks the Volvo in undergrowth to prevent anyone seeing it easily, and they run across to the gates of the place, and Kate directs them to a side road which leads to a helipad. She goes to a hangar that sits next to the pad, goes down on one knee, and picks the lock on the door. Kate slides the metal aside and reveals the gimbal. It's sitting on a low-wheeled dolly, and the women pull it out to the helipad. Kate climbs in. She flicks various switches, and Gabby gets in beside her. The rotors start to turn and build up speed, and they rise into the air. The helicopter gives them a view over the mountains and the town below. They follow the routes of the main roads that lead up to even higher ground, but there are no vehicles at this hour of the day. Then, Gabby sees some movement. "What's that?" she says, on their headsets, nodding over towards the west. "2 cars." Kate turns the gimbal. "Yeah, looks like it. Follow them." They trace the same route in the sky as the cars do on the ground. The cars are moving at speed along a road that ends in an isolated farmhouse. They see the cars stop, and 2 men get out of the first vehicle. Then they open the rear doors and pull out another man who looks unconscious or dead. They carry him into the farmhouse, and the men from the second car follow them inside. "Find a place to land," says Gabby. Kate lands the gimbal near the road junction that leads to the farmhouse. "Bring one of those flares," she says, pointing to an emergency kit in the helicopter. The snow is denser at this altitude, and it falls steadily, clinging to their eyelashes. The women walk along the road until they can see the farmhouse 50 yards away. "So 4 guys," says Gabby. "Armed, we guess?" Kate nods. "We'll use decoy tactic 12-16, says Gabby. "I'll be alpha position." She checks her Glock 17 in the holster under her coat and walks straight for the front door of the farmhouse. Gabby knocks on the door. After a moment, she sees a head look out from one of the front windows, then hears loud discussions inside. She knocks again. Eventually, one of the men opens the door. "Hello," she says in German, the snow falling around her. "I was walking in the hills and got lost. Do you have a phone? My mobile's dead." He looks suspicious, but grunts. "Sure." The man stands aside, and Gabby steps over the threshold. He leads her to a study at the front of the building that has a desk phone. "Put it on speaker," he says, flatly. Gabby picks it up and dials the number in London Control that is for field agents to use when they need to pretend that they're calling someone. "Lara?" says Gabby. "It's Irene. We're stuck up in the hills." At the other end, Agent Dunwick responds in kind. "I wondered what had happened to you, Irene. When you didn't turn up where we were supposed to meet." The man behind Gabby shifts his feet on the stone floor. "Can you come and pick us up?" says Gabby. "Of course. What's the address?" Gabby turns to the man. "What's the address?" He is holding a Grash MP443 handgun, and it's pointing at her face. "Put the phone down," he says. Gabby complies. "Walk." She goes back to the main room, followed by the man. "Sit," he says. But before she does, the sound of gunfire comes from the rear of the farmhouse. The man seems to forget about Gabby and runs off towards the noises. At the back of the place, Kate is up the hill from the property. As one man opens the door and starts to come outside, she fires at the doorframe, spraying him with shards of wood. She can see him duck back inside with another man and fires at the windows where they are standing. Inside, Gabby has witnessed all 4 of the men run through the house to the back. She takes the stairs, 2 at a time. She slams along the corridor on the first floor, looking into each room. In the 3rd bedroom, there is Hans, lying on a bed with his eyes closed. She hurries to him and slaps him as hard as she can. He grunts at the sting of pain, and his eyes open. "Come on," she says. Hans shakes his head to get rid of the grogginess from his brain. "Come on," she repeats, grabs his hand and pulls. Outside, Kate is keeping the 4 men busy with her firing. Gabby has to drag Hans down the stairs as he regains his full consciousness. They bang out of the front door and along the roadway. After a few seconds, she stops, reaches into her coat pocket, and pulls out the flare. Gabby sets it off, and a red ball glows high in the sky above the farmhouse. Kate sees it and falls back into the trees behind her position, then runs up and around through the snow to rejoin the others on the far side of the hill. They run back to the gimbal, and Hans and Gabby share the passenger seat next to Kate. The helicopter takes off. 2 of the men from the farmhouse appear along the lane. The aircraft rises amongst the white flakes, and the men open fire. 1 bullet smashes the side window on Kate's side. Then they hear a burst of automatic fire pinging against the metalwork. Just before they are out of range, a second burst hits them. But this time the rotor is damaged. The gimbal lurches to one side. Kate pulls the column back and regains control. A bullet has damaged the fuel tank too, and an alarm goes off on the panel. They stagger on through the air, rising at first, then flying dangerously close to treetops, as Kate tries to keep altitude with smoke billowing out of the helicopter. Finally, the fuel light goes red, and the rotor starts to splutter. More alarms sound in the confines of the cabin. Kate still pulls at the column, but the ground rises up to meet them. The gimbal skids across the snow and embeds itself in the edge of the woodland. Inside, the 3 spies lay still, their eyes closed.